You ever wake up to the sound of heavy chains dragging across pavement, thinking you're still dreaming, until you realize, no, that's real life, and it's about to roll right over you? That was me, 7 a.m. sharp, half awake, peeking out my bedroom window, only to see a tow truck, big, loud, unforgiving, backing up to my driveway. My 1992 Honda NSX, the one I'd been pouring my soul into for 3 years, was about to get yanked away like some abandoned heap. But what really set my blood boiling wasn't the tow truck itself. It was the woman on the sidewalk, middle-aged, phone up, recording like she just conquered Everest, smiling, chatting with a neighbor about finally getting the trash out of our neighborhood. I didn't even have shoes on. Threw some clothes over pajamas, bolted outside, feet slapping cold concrete, heart pounding out of my chest. The tow truck driver, this burly guy in coveralls, looked tired and apologetic, like he hated every second. I tried to keep my voice calm. Hey, that's my car. Can I see the paperwork for this tow? The driver handed me a clipboard, already trying to avoid eye contact, while Miss Neighborhood watched up the volume, putting on a little show. Been trying to get that eyesore moved for months, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is what happens when people don't respect community standards. I looked up and told the driver, Are you sure you want to do this? This car's registered, insured, permitted. It's on my property. The driver looked back at the woman, who waltzed over like she owned the whole county. Don't listen to him, she chirped. I've lived here 20 years, sweetie. I know the rules. You're probably just house sitting or renting. You wouldn't understand how things work here. And just like that, I realized it wasn't about a car. It was about power, plain and simple. But I held my ground. The car stays, I said, staring the driver in the eye. There's no legal reason for this tow. She actually laughed right in my face. Honey, I called this in as an abandoned vehicle. Look at it. It hasn't moved in weeks. It's not abandoned, I shot back. I drive it every weekend. She waved me off. I have a standing arrangement with the towing company. They trust my judgment about what belongs in this neighborhood, and you don't fit the vibe. By then, the driver had already hooked up my car. He shrugged, apologetic. I got to do my job. Call came through the proper channels. Documentation says it was abandoned. Consider the tow fee a stupid tax, the woman said, smirking. Maybe next time, you'll think twice about parking your junk where decent people have to look at it. I realized I wasn't going to win that battle in the moment. The car was going, period. So I changed tactics. What's your name? I asked. She puffed up. I'm the chair of the welcoming committee. I've kept this place respectable since before you were born. I came my phone. So, you're admitting you had my registered, legal car towed from my driveway because you don't like how it looks? She faltered, but couldn't stop herself. I'm maintaining standards. Real homeowners protect property values. And you believe you have that authority? I asked. 20 years experience gives me all the authority I need. I watched my car disappear down the street, every detail burning into my mind. She stood there another minute, basking in what she thought was a win. 3 hours and $400 cash later, I was at the impound lot collecting my car. The attendant looked surprised I showed up so fast. Most folks take days, he said. Most folks probably aren't prepared for their neighbors to abuse the system, I replied. Back in the neighborhood, I noticed a whole production happening at the committee chair's house. Caterers, flowers, tables. Her garden party was today. Around 2, I wandered by to see what kind of event justified towing someone's car for aesthetic reasons. She spotted me instantly, stormed over. This is for homeowners only. You're not supposed to be here. Just walk in the neighborhood, I said. Public sidewalk. Well, you can't come on my property. This is for people who belong. My phone was out again, recording. Yesterday, you had my car towed. Today, I don't belong. She flushed, but stood her ground. I did what was necessary. That car was an eyesore during our gala. It reflected poorly on all of us. So, you towed it to teach me a lesson? I asked, making sure her answer was caught on camera. Exactly. People need to know there are consequences for not fitting in. The tow fee is a stupid tax for those who don't get how things work here. Perfect. I had what I needed. Thanks for clarifying, I said, and left her to her party. She had no idea that admission would cost her a lot more than $400. That night, I drafted a formal complaint and demand for reimbursement, citing the HOA bylaws, especially the clauses on harassment and fraudulent reporting. I attached a transcript of her recorded confession. Monday morning, I submitted everything to the HOA. By Tuesday, I got word. Emergency board meeting, Thursday evening, serious violation. The meeting was in the community center, fluorescent lights, cheap chairs, that smell of stale coffee. I got there early. She was already there, holding court, confident, maybe expecting applause. "Can't wait to see this," she said to a friend. "Some folks just need to learn actions have consequences." Then the other board members filed in. Treasurer, quiet guy. Secretary, a retired teacher. At 7 o'clock sharp, I stood, took the center seat. The whole room went dead silent, except her face, which cycled through 5 shades of shock. "Good evening." I started opening my folder. "Thank you for attending tonight's emergency meeting. We have some serious business." She blurted, "You're not actually on the board." "Actually, I'm the newly elected president of the HOA and head of the Architectural Review Committee," I said, showing the documents. "I was elected 6 months ago when the last president moved out of state." She sputtered, "There was never any notice." The secretary chimed in, "All residents were notified via email and the community portal. The election followed our bylaws." "I don't use computers," she stammered. "Digital notification is considered adequate," I replied. "But that wasn't why we were there. We're here to address a complaint of harassment and fraudulent reporting," I continued. I laid out the documents, including the transcript and video. A resident's vehicle was reported as abandoned and towed, even though it was registered and parked on private property. The respondent admitted on video the tow was motivated by personal preference, not any rule violation. The treasurer leaned in. "So, the tow fee was punishment for not fitting in?" "That's correct," I said. The room got tense. She jumped up, voice cracking. "I was protecting property values. That car sat for weeks and doesn't fit our aesthetic. It's a 1992 Honda NSX, valuable, well-maintained, legally parked," I said, sliding a photo over. "There's no rule about make, model, or age of cars. Your personal opinions don't override actual regulations." The secretary looked up. "Video evidence is pretty clear. This was punishment, not rule enforcement." Some in the gallery nodded, years of pent-up frustration surfacing. I continued, "Given the violation and abuse of authority, I'm recommending immediate removal from the welcoming committee." "You can't do that," she gasped. "I've served for decades." Serving doesn't mean harassing residents or inventing rules. The committee is for helping new neighbors, not enforcing your preferences. The treasurer noted there have been several informal complaints about her before. "There's a pattern here," he said. I called for a vote, all in favor of removing her and requiring reimbursement for damages. It was unanimous. "Motion carries," I said. She gathered her things, shaking with anger and humiliation. At the door, she hissed, "This isn't over." I met her gaze. "Actually, it is. Retaliate, and we'll talk legal action." She slammed the door. The aftermath came quick. Word spread. Neighbors started sharing their own stories. She'd threatened an elderly couple over mailbox color, tried to find a young family for kids' toys in the yard, reported another neighbor for a fence that wasn't her taste. The $650 reimbursement arrived fast, probably to avoid more trouble. But the real win? Watching her scramble, stripped of her power. My NSX was back, shining in the driveway every weekend. No longer an eyesore, but a conversation starter. A month later, I was washing my car when I caught her watching from behind her curtains. Neighbors said she'd become miserable, complaining the neighborhood was going downhill. She even tried to stir up support for a recall. Nobody bit. The new committee, now run by people who understood the difference between real rules and personal taste, actually helped newcomers, trash schedules, real parking regs, local tips, not policing paint colors or car models. 3 months later, I heard she was thinking about moving. Apparently, life wasn't the same when she couldn't boss everyone around. Irony, right? She wanted me gone, but ended up feeling unwelcome herself. One day, an older neighbor came over, always friendly but cautious. "I just wanted to thank you," he said. She's harassed us for years. We never knew how to push back. He told me how she tried to fine them for rosebush colors, called the city over outdoor furniture, even called the cops over a bike in a yard. Did you ever file complaints? I asked. We didn't know we could. She made it sound like she spoke for the whole board. Classic abuse of authority. People living scared of imaginary rules. From then on, neighbors knew they could come to me or the real board if they needed help. Over the weeks, more stories came out. People repainting houses, redoing landscaping, all to avoid fake fines. It hit me how much quiet suffering had gone on, simply because no one thought they had a choice. Her resignation was a weight off everyone's shoulders. 6 months out, I drove past her house and saw a for sale sign. She was finally leaving, her reign of terror done. The house sold quick to a young family. They loved the neighborhood, loved the welcoming committee. That's how it should be. When a moving truck pulled away for good, I felt closure beyond revenge. The neighborhood was lighter, kinder, a real community again. My NSX, still shining, still in the driveway, a daily reminder that standing up doesn't mean drama. It means patience, documentation, knowing your rights. The new neighbors told me, we looked at a lot of places, but here felt genuine. Nobody tried to scare us. Nobody judged us. I smiled, thinking how different things were a year ago. Looking back, this whole ordeal taught me. Systems and procedures exist for a reason. People get hurt when they don't know their rights, when they're scared of authority that isn't even real. The former chair thrived on that ignorance. Once folks learned the real rules, her power vanished. I finished washing my car, sun glinting off the hood, thinking how a parking dispute ended up changing the whole neighborhood for the better. Sometimes, the most satisfying victories aren't just for you. They're for everyone who suffered quietly before. Justice isn't always dramatic. It's steady, methodical, and a little bit sweet. And somewhere out there, I imagine the former chair wondering how it all unraveled because she couldn't mind her own business one Saturday morning. So here's my 2 cents. Bullies count on your silence, your confusion, your fear. But when someone finally pushes back, armed with nothing but the facts and a little courage, the whole house of cards comes down fast. Every time I take that old Honda out for a spin, I remember, some fights are worth having, especially when the lesson lingers for the whole community. Where do you draw the line between protecting what matters and letting someone's ego rule the day? When does community standards become an excuse for bullying? Let me know below. Share your thoughts, your stories, your own neighborhood showdowns. Because justice sometimes is nothing more than standing up and saying, not today.